What did I even do to deserve this? We've all said it, yeah. Usually it's after one of those weeks where everything just breaks, right? You either lose your keys, or you get a harsh email from your boss, or maybe the relationship you've poured your heart into just falls apart. And in that moment of frustration, you look at the ceiling and you demand an answer from the universe.
Feels personal, doesn't it? That the universe has a grudge against you. Meanwhile, we see people who seem to cheat, lie, or take shortcuts, yet they're living their best lives on a beach somewhere. It makes the world feel random, unfair, like we're just leaves blowing in a chaotic wind.
But what if I told you that nothing is random, that there is a logic behind the chaos? Namaste. Today we're talking about a word you've heard probably like 1,000 times but never fully understood. Karma.
Most people think karma is just cosmic revenge. You do something bad and the universe slaps you back. But in our ancient philosophy, karma isn't a judge sitting in a courtroom. It's more like a sophisticated system of energy. It's the ultimate law of cause and effect. It's the reason your life looks the way it does today, and the reason your future can look completely different tomorrow. To understand how your life is being shaped, you don't need a degree in philosophy. You just need to understand the 3 distinct layers of karma: Sanchita, Prarabdha, and Agami.
If these words feel heavy, don't worry. To make it simple, just visualize yourself as an archer standing in the middle of like a full-on battlefield.
First, there are thousands of arrows sitting in the quiver on your back. This is your Sanchita Karma, the vast storehouse of every action you've ever taken. Second, there is the arrow in flight, the one you have already released, which is screaming through the air towards its target. This is your Prarabdha Karma, the destiny you are living out right now that cannot be changed. And third, there is the arrow in your hand. This is your Agami Karma, the choice you are making in this exact moment.
In this example, every arrow is a karma, a thought, a word, or an action. Once you understand these arrows, the random events in your life start to make perfect sense. So let's dive into the first one, the quiver. Sanchita Karma is your quiver filled with your past karma. But it's not just a small bag, it's more massive, like an infinite warehouse.
Inside this warehouse is every single thing you've ever done, thought, or intended. Not just in this life, but in every lifetime your soul has ever traveled through. Every time you're kind to a stranger, a gold arrow or a good karma goes into the quiver. Every time you act out of greed or hurt someone, a dark arrow or a bad karma is added. Most of these are just sitting there. They aren't affecting you right now, but they are part of your inventory. And this is why life can feel so confusing. Because sometimes a very old dark arrow finally gets picked up. To understand the weight of your quiver of karma, we have to look at the end of the greatest war in the history, the Mahabharata. King Dhritarashtra had lost everything. His 100 sons, once the pride of Hastinapur, now lay lifeless on the soil of Kurukshetra. Blind, broken, and hollow, he turns to Lord Krishna. Dhritarashtra cries out, "I ruled justly. I cannot remember a single sin in this life that deserves this much suffering. Why was I born blind? Why must I commit 100 sons? Why me?" Krishna grants him a vision, not of yesterday, but of 50 lifetimes ago. We see a young hunter walking through the woods, looking at a beautiful bird on a tree. Out of sheer cruelty, no hunger, no threat, the hunter pierces the bird's eyes with a thorn. He then destroys the nest, killing the bird's 100 unhatched chicks. The blind king asks, "If I did this 50 lives ago, why did it take so long for the punishment to find me?" Krishna gently explains and says, "To lose 100 sons, you first needed the merit to have 100 sons. That karma waited until the conditions were complete."
This is the mystery of Quiver. We often say, "But I'm a good person now, why is this happening?" But the truth is, our warehouse is very deep. We are all carrying old debts or old rewards that we don't even remember creating in the first place.
Sanchita Karma teaches us humility. It tells us that the universe hasn't forgotten, it's just waiting for the right moment. But don't let that scare you, because if the warehouse can hold old debts, it also holds every single act of love and courage you've ever performed. Those are waiting for you too.
But what happens when an arrow is actually pulled out and shot? That is when karma becomes your destiny. So let's talk about the arrow in flight. Now we move on from the warehouse to the battlefield. So Prarabdha karma is the arrow in flight. This is the most misunderstood part of our lives because it's the part we call fate or destiny.
These are the arrows that have already been released from the bow. Once that string is snapped, you can't run after the arrow and grab it. You can't shout at it to stop. It will land. It has to. Prarabdha is that portion of your past actions that is manifesting right now. It's the reason why sometimes, no matter how hard you fight or how much you plan, things happen exactly the way they were meant to. In fact, sometimes our very effort to escape our fate is exactly what brings it to our doorstep. To understand how unstoppable the arrow in flight really is, let's look at the terrifying example of Prarabdha karma. Thousands of years ago, at the gate of Mount Kailash, there stood Garuda, the mighty king of birds and the divine ride of Lord Vishnu. He noticed something tiny and fragile, a beautiful sparrow perched quietly on a cold stone. But then, he saw someone else, Yama, the Lord of Death, arriving for a meeting with Shiva and looking at that sparrow with a strange smile. Garuda was worried. He thought, if the god of death is looking at this bird like that, its time must be up. Being a compassionate being, Garuda decided to intervene. He picked up the tiny sparrow in his talons and, with a single beat of his massive wings, he flew across the entire world. He left the bird on a tree, certain he had saved it. He flew back to Kailash and saw Yama leaving. Garuda couldn't help himself. He asked, "Lord, why did you look at the sparrow with such a strange smile?" Yama replied, "I was confused, Garuda. My records showed that this tiny bird was destined to be eaten by a python in a forest thousands of miles away in just a few moments. I wondered, how could such a small creature get there so fast? But then I saw you, and I realized you were the one who was going to carry it to its destination."
The story hits hard because it shows us that we are all an instruments of our own Prarabdha. The arrow in flight is your health, okay? Or maybe the family you were born into, or the accidents in your life. We spend so much time
screaming at the sky trying to stop the arrow. But the ancient solution isn't to fight the arrow, it's to accept it. When you realize that certain things are just in flight, you stop being a victim. You stop asking, why me? And start asking, how do I handle this with grace? You realize that while you can't stop the arrow from landing, you can choose how you stand when it does. But wait, if some things are destined, does that mean that we're just some puppets? No, because there's only one arrow left, and that is the most important one, the arrow in your hands. If the quiver is your past, and the flying arrow is a destiny, then Agami Karma is your superpower. This is the arrow in your hand. It is the action that you are taking right now, in this very second. While you can't change the warehouse or stop the arrows already in the air, you have 100% control over where you aim this next one. This is where free will lives. Agami Karma is the seed of your future. It's the proof that you aren't just a character in a movie watching your life happen. You are the writer, the director, and the lead actor. And no matter how many dark arrows or bad karmas are in your quiver, one light arrow of good karma shot today can change the whole trajectory of your life. In the banks of river Ganga, there was a man named Ratnakar. He was a ruthless dacoit who robbed and killed travelers to feed his family. When he tried to rob the sage Narada, the sage didn't flee. He simply asked one question. Ratnakar, you do these sins for your family, but will they share the burden of your karma when the time comes to pay? Ratnakar scoffs at the sage. Suddenly his family would stand by him. He runs home and asks them, will you share the weight of my sins, since I do all of this for you? But the answer he gets is a cold wake-up call. His wife and children shake their heads. They tell him, it is your duty as a father and a husband to provide for us. How you get that food is your choice. The sin you commit, they belong to you alone. In that moment, Ratnakar's world crumbles. He realized he was filling his quiver with poison, and he was the only one who would ever have to feel its sting. He didn't just stop being a thief, he decided to change the very essence of his being. He took the arrow in his hand and aimed it towards a noble cause. Because of that one choice, the man who was once a murderer became the poet, and not just wrote the Ramayana, but he rewrote his destiny by changing his current action. The story of Valmiki is the ultimate hope. It tells us that your past, no matter how dark, does not have to be your future. You are the archer, not just the target. The arrow in your hand right now is more heavier and more powerful than all the other arrows that are flying towards you. So use it wisely. So how do we actually live with this? It feels like a lot to balance, right? But the ancient rishis gave us a simple 3-part strategy to become the master archer. First, exhaust your Prarabdha. When tough time comes, things you can't change, don't waste your energy fighting them. Endure them with patience. Let those arrows in flight land. Every time you face a hardship without bitterness, you are causing a debt of your ledger. Second, clean the warehouse. Live a life of dharma. By doing good now, you are neutralizing the dark arrows in your Sanchita quiver before they ever get a chance to be shot. And third, be mindful of Agami. Before you speak, before you react in anger, before you take a shortcut, ask yourself, is this the arrow I want to deal with 10 years from now? You see, karma isn't a case designed to trap you in your past. It's a map designed to lead you to your freedom. When you understand where the arrows are coming from, You stop being a victim of bad luck and start being the master of your own soul. If this perspective changed the way you see your bad luck or your future, then please let me know. I really want to hear from you. Which of the 3 arrows resonated with you the most today? And if you're ready to see how these laws play out in the most complex and heartbreaking way possible, you have to watch my video on the life of Karna. He was a hero caught between the quiver full of curses and a hand full of impossible choices. His journey through the battlefield of Kurukshetra is the ultimate masterclass of karma. Thank you for being a part of the Audiotale family. And remember, the ball is in your hands. The question is, where are you aiming? I'm Janvi Gauchan, and I'll see you in the next one. Namaste.